All right, today we're tackling a big debate in the hobby. Is Pokemon still just for kids, or has it grown to a full-blown adult obsession? From nostalgia to high-end investments, from playground packs to graded slabs worth thousands, this conversation hits home for collectors of every age. So buckle up, because we're going to into the heart of the TCG world to find out, is this hobby still for kids, or are we all grown-up geniuses now? Stick around. How's it going, man? How are you?
Doing good, SD. How about yourself?
Awesome. Glad to be recording.
Look, let's just go ahead and put it out there now, okay? TC Geniuses, SD just saw me rip 4 packs like if it was the first time I'd ever ripped.
No, you didn't
packs.
rip pack. You didn't rip them.
Well, I stared at them. I stared at them, trying to open them with my laser vision.
There was no ripping involved. You managed somehow to get cards out of the wrapper.
Yeah, I still don't know how they got out. So,
guys,
don't worry about it, Geniuses. Don't worry about it. Just give him a shot.
Right.
When he uploads those videos, be nice. Be nice, okay? Don't be mean.
It was epic.
We know that social media can be mean. Okay.
Can. Words hurt. Words hurt.
What's going on, Geniuses? How y'all doing?
All right. Well, I think we got an interesting one today. I had a question asked to me the other day, and it kind of got me thinking. Basically, the individual I was talking to was like, hey, is Pokemon even like for kids anymore? And I was like, it's a great question, you know? And he was like, well, is there anything that's actually marketed or put out there anymore that is for kids? And I was like, well, Pokemon's for kids. And he was like, well, sure, it says it's for kids, but like, do they do it anymore? Like, or is it just a bunch of grown people collecting and buying? And I mean, we can get into the scalping conversation and everything too. I mean, it was a valid question, I thought.
6+ right?
It does.
It
does. It really does. I would be curious to think, because I know, at least through my experiences with my 2 kids, like they all know about Pokemon and a lot of them collect them or whatever, but it's not, and I missed this. I mean, because I wasn't a kid when it came out, or of that age when it got real popular. So like it wasn't on the playgrounds when I was younger. And I don't think it's on the playgrounds at my kid's school now.
Oh, it's not like it used to be before. I know that's how I've described it. That's how I got started, right? All my buddies had folders. They showed up with folders and sleeves. Cards were on the playground. Everybody's walking around with decks in their hands. So, I mean, it definitely was catered. And from what I remember, I mean, nobody ever thought about scalping. I went to a store and packs galore right on the shelves.
I bet.
You can go either to a hobby store. I remember I went to a military base and with my aunt and uncle, and sure enough, there was hundreds of packs just sitting on the shelves, and me and my cousin just got to rip in, trying to chase after the Charizard, the Blastoise, the Venusaur. We knew what the hits were because back then holos were hits, right? Those were the only ones that were being hit at the time, but it was still being used for the game itself. You went into class, you found some time in between subjects or something, and you were battling, you were playing. I collected just because I wanted to have a cool collection to use to battle. But the idea was to battle. And now it's its own, I don't know what you call it, because I mean, they're trying to compare it to owning stocks and owning crypto. So it's definitely taking on a life of its own. And after almost 30 years, yeah, it's got its own place.
I agree. I think a part of it is, I mean, the marketing of everything is people are willing to pay for nostalgia, right? I think that's a pretty fair statement to make. And now 30 years later, a lot of those kids that played Pokemon or were into Pokemon when it came out, you know, now they're adults and they want a piece of that. Yeah. And they got money and they want that piece of childhood back, you know? And I would say, like, when my daughter and I have gone and played at local game shops, there's kids there, but it's mainly adults, you know? And I will say, when I say adults, I mean, the ages I see probably from, you know, teenagers through, I don't know, 40s,
45,
50s.
50,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah. So
it pretty much covers the whole
range.
spectrum, right?
It
From
does.
6 to 50.
Right? But there's no young kids. I mean, maybe 1 or 2. I think I've seen them more when they do because they're one of the places we play, it's to play, but it's also a trade event or a trade morning. So you go down there and there is play.
Like that,
yeah, but it is trade. And it's not really like an organized tournament or organized league play or anything like that. It's more just to hang out, trade some cards, and then it's like pickup games, essentially. You just ask them, like, hey, you want to play some rounds or whatever? You know, it's not your standard play 3 rounds or 3 games and then switch or anything like that. So it's not a whole night. But I would even say that too, like, even gameplay has gotten pretty competitive, and it seems like it's more adults too. And And another point that the individual I was talking to brought up was, well, maybe part of it is because, sure, maybe the physical cards, or they're not releasing any physical cards per se with children in mind. I mean, like you said, the package says 6 and up, right? But I would have to say, Pokemon, Locana, all these companies, when they're releasing this stuff, I mean, they are a business, so they're trying to make some money. And I don't think their focus is on children. They're probably, and I don't know, this is just me talking, but they're marketing. Well, it's not like we see commercials about it. I don't know. It's interesting because it's not like their marketing is focused at adults. But if you think about it, even if it is a kid's thing, it's the adults that are buying it for birthdays, for Christmases, rewards for good grades, whatever it is. So I think it is mainly adults who's buying it. And I mean, like I said, we can go down so many rabbit holes with this. The state of TCG now it's essentially, I wouldn't say high stakes, but it's more expensive, and kids don't have that kind of money. So I think it is mostly adults that's buying it. It may not end up in the end game in the hands of kids, or in the hands of kids, because, they have the parents buying them and everything, which, by the way, if you're a new parent and know nothing about Pokemon, go check out that video. We just recorded that one, and it's got lots of good information to get started in Pokemon. But yeah, so I think it was a fair question. And then he said, well, maybe the other part of it too is the physical cards, maybe that isn't really for kids anymore because they have apps. Because now there's TCG Pocket, there's TCG Live, all these apps, and a lot of the kids nowadays, they have access to iPads and phones and everything.
So there's
like
both
that.
a physical TCG, right? The actual cards that we go buy, versus a virtual, which is what most kids use nowadays anyways.
Yeah.
They can pull God packs just like we can.
Yeah.
They have their decks. They build multiple decks. They battle with people all around the world.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, you don't see a market. You don't see a commercial pull up about, hey, Pokemon, or, Lorcana, or Star Wars, or some of the newer ones. Not yet, at least. But even if they do, it feels like it's still catered towards, hey, do everything virtually, or it's going to be virtual, versus actually be in the game and play at the store. So, I mean, unless you go to our local shops, I know when I take my kids to the local shops, they look up on the board and they show them, hey, Tuesday nights and Saturday nights, or Tuesday nights and Friday nights, or league nights. And you come in, and then if they do special releases, they'll have days. So, I mean, it's out there, but you have to be looking for it in order to find it. It's not just like anywhere and everywhere. Hey, use this for the battling itself. Get together and actually play with it.
And I guess there's another interesting aspect to look at too. I mean, are we kind of at fault? And what I mean, for households that have, like my household, for instance, I collect. So my kids were into Pokemon before I started getting into it, but then I got into it and I wasn't interested in playing. I was interested in collecting. And now my daughter, she rips packs, but she's looking for hits. She's not looking for which cards are the best to be played with. And is that my fault? Did I kind of put that on her when she saw like my emphasis was on collecting? So now her emphasis has become on collecting, and she's more focused on that, So maybe that's something too. It's because so many adults are involved now that their kids, if they have an adult in their life that knows what they're doing, or they're collecting, that influences how they're going to approach TCG, right? I mean, and I'm sure like a lot of parents who are collectors and their kids are into it too have this experience where, they get new packs for Christmas, they get a box for Christmas or whatever it is, like, and they open it up, and then an hour later you go in the room and the cards are all over the floor. And I see that. And I'm like, why do you have all these cards on the floor? You need to sleeve some of the, I don't know. Maybe that's part of it too. And that's why some of these kids maybe aren't into it, because they do just want to be like it was back in the 90s when it came out. And it was like, dude, I carried these around in my back pocket and I sat on them.
That is very true.
And they were used and they were well loved and played with,
A lot of loving, right? What we say, right? When we see the cards, there's a lot of loving on this card.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of factors that are at play here. But yes, it is a kid's game. Yes, it started out as a kid's game. Yes, it started out with kids on the playground. I kind of feel like it's gotten away from that a little bit, though, or a lot of it.
Yeah. No, it feels that way. It feels that way. Who was around when it first came out? Obviously, that's who's collecting now. I'm not a seal collector. Yeah, okay, sure. I'm a collector. I was a collector back then. I was a collector now. I have binders of sports cards. I have binders of Pokemon. My kids, for the first, let's say, 7-8 years of their lives, they knew that dad had a Pokemon card collection, but we never pulled it out to play with them. I just had them in a binder. It's not until they started watching Pokemon on Netflix and actually watching the episodes that then we're like, hey, Pokemon, let's get into it. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Finally start seeing some special cards. The Gengar Alt-Art, one that I've always mentioned, is the card that brought me back. We opened during the Crown Zenith era where tons of hits. So then the whole idea of collecting again, putting them in sleeves, putting them in binders. There was a routine that I just quickly fell back into. But I've always also mentioned I never got to battle. I collected cards in the beginning because I wanted to battle with my friends. When it came to battling, by the time I had what I felt was a good enough collection, they moved on to Yu-Gi-Oh! I did the same thing again. When I felt like I had a good enough cards or set, then they moved on to Magic. So I never got to experience that. So I'm at fault for never showing them, but I was never shown, hey, this is how you battle. The cool thing is about going to our local shops nowadays is that, like our local shop with Gabriel and Kaido, they're two brothers. They run a local shop here in Lancaster, TCG, in Lancaster, Texas. They run a shop. And on Saturdays, if you show up at the beginning, he says for the first hour, it's dedicated towards teaching people how to play and how to battle. So they have a couple tables out. They'll sit down. They'll play with you. Obviously, when it's not busy, not too many people are walking in yet, but the idea is teach the young kids how to play. I feel like we do other things in the community to include these kids nowadays. We give them packs. We give away cards. I know that's what we've done. We've done it in streams. We've done it either on Whatnot, on eBay. We've done it when other people are there. We've bought boxes for kids, right? Crave Collectibles, right? In Utah, we have one of the kids that comes in, Coop. He's a regular. Coop comes in, and obviously he's been blessed. The chat say God Pack, right? We know that one. The idea that it's just that's how we relate to them because that's what we know. But obviously, you have plenty of people. You have Jacob, you have Jay, you have Mike, you have Tyler. They do know how to battle. I didn't go through that phase.
They do.
But
and I will say, I mean, a couple personal stories about that. First, like Coop, right? That whole chat say God Pack. So, like you were saying, Coop is a kid. He's a local kid. He goes into the Crave shop, stop in after school or whatever. Grandma will drop him off, and he hangs out in there. And they were ripping Terrestrial Festival, and he'll walk into the stream room, and they let him get on the stream. And long story short,
the chat is asking for him. The chat is asking, hey,
exactly.
Let Coop rip one of my packs, or let Coop rip this box for me. So it's not like he's jumping at it. The chat is like, I'll buy a box if Coop can rip it.
Yep. And then Coop got on there and he starts saying, hey, chat, say God Pack. And the chat started saying God Pack. And I'll be darned, he hit a God Pack. And
but remember, there was a little more to it, right? So he gets on there, he rips a box for somebody else.
Yeah.
And then he says, hey, man, I would love to open up a box of this. Boom. Bubbles goes in there and blesses him with the box.
Yep.
Right. And then as he's ripping the box, he only goes through 3 or 4 packs because they're telling him, you know what, rip the rest at home. Rip a couple packs here and rip the rest at home. And then Bubble says, you know what? Calls Tyler, right? The way he does it. Calls Tyler. Tyler steps away. Tyler comes back and says, you know what? You got 6 more boxes or 5 more boxes. And then Bubbles calls back and does what Bubbles does. You know what? How many are in a case? 14 more because there's 20. Give him the whole case. Like it was never ending. That tidal wave of emotions and giving. Right. That's what we know.
Yeah. And then
that's how we share
the community
the hobby.
Stuff, right? Yeah. Exactly. And it's great. And
so then that's when what you mentioned happens, right? He's sitting there. He's like, rip one more. Grandma's in the lobby of the shop and like, come on, let's go. It's time to go. And he's like, come on, one more. And so he gets to ripping him. I remember I could close my eyes and still remember that feeling of hearing Jacob and Tyler in the background talking to each other as Coop is sitting there and he's opening these packs and he's like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if this was a God pack? And Jacob and Tyler are laughing in the background because they're like, can you imagine him ripping a God pack? And he turns the cards around and rips a God pack and they lose their minds.
Yeah, totally.
I have the headphones on. I mean, they are blasting decibels of sound into my ears and everybody else's because the sound that came from that video, that room, that experience was something I have never, ever experienced anywhere else.
It was awesome. And it was a kid who did it. So, I mean, well deserved. It was all, and that's, it reminds me of another thing you were talking about, like how all those guys know how to play. And I remember it was in the early days of me going down to Crave and I took my kids down there and Jake's always awesome with them. Jake's cool. I remember I got to talking to Bailey and Jake grabbed a couple packs of Crown Zenith and he battled, not playing Pokemon properly, but they did a pack battle.
Yeah.
And he gave them each a pack and they did the pack battle. And then the end, Jake gave his cards to my kids too and everything. And it was amazing. And it is, that's when you see stuff like that, you're like, okay, it is about the kids, you know, and this is great.
It is.
And it makes me sit here and kind of think, like right now, thinking about it, I almost wonder, if I should do things differently, because like when I got into it for collecting, right? And I play now. Like after I started collecting, I realized
You do
playing
play.
is
You
pretty
go play
fun.
with your daughter.
Yeah, and we go play. But I wonder, because when I first got into it was about collecting, and then the kids saw that I took an interest to Pokemon. They were like, "Well, Dad's in. Like, I want to get back into this and do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is awesome." I love spending time with my kids. But I wonder, because they saw my emphasis was on collecting and keeping things pristine, and like you said, sleeving and putting things in top loaders and everything, it kind of took away from the childhood part of it, of like, hey, it's a game. We're supposed to play a game here, And I almost feel a little bit guilty right now that maybe I kind of approached it wrong by exposing that to them like that. But on the other end of it, and that's why this is a debate, the other side of it is we're teaching a whole nother generation of collectors to keep the hobby going, So that's not bad either,
No. But do you have the same excitement if you teach them the battle way and then start dabbling into collecting? Would it have been as much fun? Or
Yeah,
do you stay
true.
with it as long as you did now? Because think about it. You talk about starting this in November. It wasn't until we met each other in February, the last few days of February on my birthday, that you actually told me. He goes, "Hey, what do you think about this idea?" Right? And you called me afterwards. You called me a few days after we left and met up in LA as well and talked to me about the idea. But I mean, at that moment, what was so fun about that day? We didn't battle that day at
No,
CreativeCon.
not at all.
It was all about trading and mingling and
Seeing all
just
these amazing cards.
seeing all the people, a bunch of people
Right.
that we've always seen on stream. What do we do on stream? We collect. We
Yeah.
don't battle, we collect. So
Yeah.
again,
You're absolutely right.
it's part of the community. It's part of it.
It is a part of the community, but then I guess I'll play the devil's advocate here. So it's a part of the community for adults, but is that a part of the community for kids? The kids don't care about collecting and sleeving cards up. They want to hold the cards. They want to play with them. They want to be with their friends.
Man, I don't know. I've seen a bunch of kids walking around some of these collecticons and some of these trade shows, and they got bigger pockets than we do. All right. I've seen plenty of kids, plenty
You're
of
not lying.
videos on
True.
Instagram, TikTok,
Very true.
YouTube, all this stuff. They're walking around with, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in their suitcases with
a couple ponchos, a Van Gogh
Poncho
Pikachu,
Pikachus, and they, Battle Festa Pikachus, PSA
Right.
10s. They'll sit there and break down grading for you. You're like, so it is part of it. It will continue to keep the hobby going.
Is.
I mean, it's been around and it's about to be 30 years. It's not going anywhere. It's just not. Do we have this need to have to teach them to battle and stuff? I feel like they do. They should. It's important to know about it. I wish that's something I would have learned more of when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because in the end, my cards would have pretty much been in the same condition I had some. There's probably like 4 or 5 that I think were pristine. After 20-something years, I was able to grade them and they came out in great condition, but I never got to battle, and yet it's a part of it. So I think it's cool, like what you do. You actually go, take your daughter and actually go and get into these events and experience that. It is part of the collecting world. It's the battle phase. It's the actual, the purpose of what this was created for.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like every point we talk about, I just get more questions and more things. So we've mentioned this before in other ones. I think last number I saw, like last year, they said alone, Pokemon's, is the biggest brand worldwide, right? $115 billion last year. I mean, that's huge. That's a huge amount. So, I mean, another question that comes to mind is Pokemon being what it is, right? It's 30 years old, okay? Basically, all those kids that were playing are adults now. So one question is, if it wasn't for the collecting and if it wasn't for TCG being as big as it is right now and the money that's involved, if that collecting side wasn't around, would Pokemon be what it is now if it was just battling? If those kids who grew up 30 years ago, they just remember battling and it wasn't about collecting, would we be in the same boat right now?
I have to say no. No, because I don't see the hobby being as popular, but I still feel there still would have been some kind of semblance of what it is today. And the reason being is, even as a kid, you knew, hey, I got to get the best cards. I got to get the best looking cards. I want the hollows.
Right.
I want the most powerful cards because I want to be able to battle with them. And so it kind of creates the collector in you, right? Even as you open these packs at the beginning, you want to pull out the cards that you need in order to build the best deck. And then it snowballs from there. So I think it would have still been something big.
I think so.
It would have been what it is now. Maybe not, but
leads to the next question then. Okay. So obviously when it all started, it was all about battling, right? It wasn't about collecting, obviously, right? So there was obviously some point where it shifted. It got to an even point and then it shifted. So now that collecting is what it is, are there more collectors out there than there are players? Because I've always heard, and I do know this, you either play or you collect. It's very rare to find people who do both, right? So now, I guess that's the other part. Is collecting bigger than playing now? Or is playing still as big as it was?
Yeah, I'll throw a wrench in your question. Remember, how do you think we get so many boxes, so many old school boxes, base set boxes, first edition boxes, sealed boxes? Somebody out there was collecting. From the beginning, they knew maybe this is something.
Some of those, but some of those are also grandma had them in her closet for when the grandkids came over and gave them a pack of Pokemon, and then they forgot
just
about
got
them
lost,
and they
right?
found
They
them in a
just got
closet or
lost.
something. Yeah, I mean,
But
you're
wouldn't they
absolutely
have
right.
all been faded? I mean, think about
I
it. You would have
guess
thought
so.
this box would have been faded and
I
dusted.
guess so. You're absolutely right. I mean, there was
Somebody out
collecting
there,
back then.
right?
And I guess that's a whole nother question too. Like, is collecting bigger now than it used to be, or has it always been this big? I mean, what's the scale of collecting now?
Well,
Is everybody more fanatical? Is everybody more into collect? I mean, because somebody collects everything out there. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Somebody collects it
sports,
nowadays.
coins,
Sneakers,
stamps,
clothes, purses,
comics, right?
gold,
Comic books,
gems, all that
gold,
stuff. Yeah,
silver,
everything.
jewelry, shoes,
People collect it.
hats, watches,
Lego minifigs. I mean, everything is collected.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole because next year, right? Pokemon and Lego come
and that's
together
a whole
for
other
collab.
episode that's coming. Yep. So, but seriously, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Overall, I just thought it was a really interesting conversation.
It is
About
It is a
like
good one.
where is this going? What are we doing? Is this about kids, or is this just something that adults are taking over, or is this something that people are just trying to get a piece of their nostalgia and now they realize there's some money involved with it? I don't know.
I mean, they're the ones that I have to feel like had to keep it going. When we talk about that mid era when maybe it wasn't so popular and people used to talk about like, oh yeah, you could go to the stores and find plenty of Pokemon stuff on the shelves. It was the same people.
Yeah.
They were just in a different age group or different,
different point in their life, right?
Right. 18, 20, 22, 25 years old. And they were like, you know what? Let's collect now because it's so easily available. Still battling, still keeping it alive. So, I mean, technically the same people are the ones that have brought it all this time.
That's a great point, because it's those same people too that 30 years ago when they were kids playing on the playground, now they have kids. And, maybe for them, they're like, this is their opportunity to get back into it. And them getting back into it, even though they know that collecting is something, maybe that's something they want to pass on to their kids, is the joy and the fun of just playing and just having the packs and just putting them in your pocket and trading at home or whatever. So like I will tell you this too. One of my really good friends, Levi's dad, Levi, who's been on the channel before, we featured him. My buddy doesn't know anything.
Was that video that you loaded the Nationals.
Yep. And my buddy doesn't know much about Pokemon. And Levi's obviously into Pokemon, so he's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know, like whatever. And they've gotten Pokemon cards and they rip them, and Levi will come to him and like trade him Pokemon cards, right? And like the trades are like absolute. I mean, it's very sweet. It is very one-sided, and it's awesome hearing the stories about it. And it's great because it's just being a kid, and it's just enjoying the cards. He has a binder, and he tries to take care of them and everything, but my buddy,
I got one over on dad, right?
Yeah. Right. He like comes with him and he's like, I have these 15 bulk that I'll give you non-hollow, and I want the hollow. And it's like, well, that's a fair trade, So it's really cute and it's really sweet and genuine. And I mean, and I guess in the end, that's what this should be, right? And I do feel like some of that focus has been lost. Part of that is, I don't know, call it big businesses getting involved. When big money gets involved in things, it kind of skews it a little bit too. It is good to see that there is still some efforts out there to keep it for the kids or keep it lighthearted. You know what I mean? But I get the other end of it. It's really hard to keep lighthearted when you're selling a $50,000 slab. That's a lot of money to be lighthearted about, So yeah, I don't know. I just thought, and then like we touched on it just briefly earlier, but like the kids too. I mean, there might be a part of it where that generation, they just want to see it on an iPad. They want to rip a digital pack. They want to have a digital collection, They don't really care about having physical cards anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, now I'll go back to the other side just for a perfect side of the debate. The idea is the other day, it was like the third day of school, and we get a call from the teacher. The teacher calls us and says, you know what? I want to talk to you about your son. Your son is incredible when it comes to mathematics. I'm sitting here talking about percentages. Some of these kids are looking up at me and they're looking at me all confused. Your son is talking about percentages, talking about fractions, talking about all these things, and he sounds like he has mastered it all. And she asked me, what have you done? Why are you like, how does he know this? And I said, because it's simple. We talk about math. We talk about numbers as we're in the car, as we're driving down the road. Why? We're talking about Pokemon. We're talking about it because we're like, wait a minute. Hey, guess what? Nathan, look up collector. You pull up this app. Let's see your collection. Where's it at? What's the percentage? Oh, it's gone up 10%. Okay. What's it at now? Hey, you know what? If this card's raw versus if we graded it, yeah, it's a $10 card, but guess what? It's $200, graded. So then you start, okay, you know what? It's worth the risk. You pay 15, you pay 10 for the card, 15 to grade or 20 to grade. So I mean, all these things come into play. So all of a
Yeah,
sudden now we're
it's
talking
great.
about another side of things. So it's yes, it's lost some of its luster with the younger community when it comes to actually battling physically or in person. Maybe you don't see about it as much. I don't ever remember hearing or seeing many commercials about it when it actually was around initially. I don't see them now, right? It's
True,
just something
true.
right? We get it through all social
And
media.
I mean, I guess that's another thing too. Back when it came out, was organized play, was that a thing back
No,
in the 90s? Or
no,
is that more of a modern thing that they actually
I
have
can't. Yeah,
organized?
I have to say that's more of a modern thing, only because I don't remember ever hearing anything about that. Remember, I only wanted to battle. There was no such thing in collecting, in my eyes, from when I was collecting. So I would have been around it. I would have heard about it. I never remember hearing anything about it.
Yeah.
You played with your friends at school.
Yeah,
That's it.
and that was about it. So it was definitely a very social thing. I mean, and I don't know, maybe that's one thing that Magic has gotten right is Commander's the most popular format to play Magic in. And I've been wanting to learn and do it, but it's 4 players. And the goal of playing Commander, that format, is hanging out and having a good time with 3 of your good friends and just talking and playing Magic. And I've yet to check it out. I've been wanting to. Oasis Games in Salt Lake, they have a really good deal. I'll make a little plug for them here. $10, they give you a Commander and they give you access to thousands of cards, and you build a 100 card deck and you take it home with you and you learn how to play Commander. And they do it twice a
Nice.
month. Yeah, on 2 Saturdays a month, they do a morning session and an evening session. I've been trying to go down and my schedule never works out. But yeah, I guess maybe that's one way for like Magic. A different thing is they have basically like a social format to play the games.
I think they do something I wouldn't know if I'm comparing apples to apples when I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, but don't they haven't they done something similar when it comes to like the format that you battle in, right? Because I know that there were like different ways. I mean, obviously there was the original way and then new formats have come into play and so now they'll actually say, "Well, we're going to battle in this format." I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I never got to be into it either because I just again
yeah,
skipped out on that when it came to Yu-Gi-Oh, but I feel like there's the same thing. I've heard different things when I'm at local shops
yeah.
and they're talking about it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh. I'll be honest with you. That is the one set I have never ripped a pack. I've looked at the cards briefly. I mean, I know they have like what, blue eye, red eye, or something like that, but that's all I know about Yu-Gi-Oh. So I am definitely ignorant when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh. So, but I don't know. Really interesting conversation. Thanks, AB. I appreciate that. Your input on everything. I don't know. Everybody out there, let us know. What do you think? Is TCG collecting, is this an adult exclusive thing, or are kids still a big factor? Is it still for kids? Is it just a marketing thing? I don't know. Let us know. Email us, post on our Instagram, post in the comments here. Let us know what you think. What are your feelings about the questions and the conversation we had today in this episode? We'd really like to hear it. Start
Absolutely.
some
We
pretty good
also
conversation out there.
try to get a poll going just to see what
Yeah.
people think
Yeah.
out there. All right. So please respond. It's always awesome to have the interactions with all you
Totally.
geniuses getting in here. And again, this is why we started. One of the reasons why we started this, right? We wanted everybody to have the input and to be able to, put in their 2 cents and give us an
Yeah.
idea of what's going on out there.
Yeah. And we have been behind on polls. It's been a few weeks since we put a poll out. So we're due to put some out there. So look for that on our Instagram. We'll make a YouTube short for it as well. I guess I can mention the last one we ran was the most popular TCG. And in that poll, we had put up Pokemon, Star Wars, Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic. And I will say all of the votes went to Star Wars or Pokemon. And a majority of the votes were Pokemon. So the other ones didn't get any love. Granted, our sample size was quite small, but we do appreciate the input for those that participated. But I would still say it was pretty obvious that Pokemon pretty much reigns king in the TCG world. So thanks for inputting on that. And again, look for the next one when we get that up. But any other last minute closing thoughts, AB?
No, I mean, in the end, we hope that the community continues to grow. In the end, it's just important for the hobby, right? It's important for all of us. It's just the next step forward, and we pass this on to the next generation, and hopefully it
Exactly.
continues to move forward in that direction. So, thank you very
You know,
much, you geniuses, for
yeah,
stepping in.
geniuses, thanks. Yeah, yeah. Until next time, episode 7 is a wrap. Can't believe we're almost to 10. It's awesome. We'll get to 10. So appreciate all the support from everybody. Go out there, check us out. TikTok, Instagram, our YouTube. Give us subscribe, follows, and we look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, hit some bangers. Good luck to everybody. We'll see you next time.
See ya.